Since childhood, I had known my role in the family, the responsible one, the girl who didn't make trouble, who got straight A's, who followed every rule. My younger sister, Sophie, was the opposite. She was chaos wrapped in charm, the girl who crashed Dad's car at 17 and still got a hug afterward because she was just going through a phase. Our parents adored her in ways I could never understand. When she failed math, they laughed it off and said, "She's not a numbers girl." When I brought home a scholarship letter, they smiled politely, as if it was just another thing they expected from me. It was always Sophie first. Sophie's art shows, Sophie's heartbreaks, Sophie's endless need for attention. And I, Alina, stood in the background, clapping for her victories and pretending not to notice the difference in our parents' eyes. After college, I worked harder than anyone I knew. I got a job at a technology firm and spent years building my reputation. I never complained when I stayed late at the office, never asked for help when I felt exhausted. Every paycheck I earned went toward a dream I'd quietly nurtured since my teenage years, starting my own design business. By 27, I had saved $200,000. It was more than money. It was proof of my worth, of every night I'd spent working while Sophie was out partying or traveling. I was finally ready to take the leap. Then, one evening, Mom and Dad called me to their house. They greeted me with unusual warmth, their smiles a little too sweet. We sat in the living room, and Mom started softly, "Alina, your father and I have been thinking about the future of the family." Dad nodded, hands folded. "We'd like to create a family investment fund, something that could help all of us, especially your sister. You've always been good with money, sweetheart, and we trust you to handle it wisely." The words "we trust you" hit me like sunlight. For once, they were including me in something meaningful. I asked questions, wanted to understand the plan, but Mom's answers were vague. "It's just a temporary thing," she said gently. "You can use the funds later for your business. We just need to organize everything under one account first." It sounded logical, harmless even. I'd always longed for their approval, for a reason to feel like part of the family, not just the reliable outsider. So I agreed. I transferred my savings into their family fund, telling myself it was just paperwork, that they would never betray me. For weeks afterward, I felt lighter. My parents started calling more often, inviting me for dinner, asking about my work. I thought maybe they finally see me, but deep down, a small voice whispered caution. Something about their sudden warmth felt practiced, rehearsed. I ignored it, because love, especially the kind you've been starving for your whole life, makes you blind. I didn't know it then, but that decision, trusting them with my savings, would be the moment that shattered everything I believed about family. And when the truth finally came out at that family dinner, I would learn just how far love could twist into betrayal. The invitation arrived in the family group chat that I had muted months ago. "Family appreciation dinner, Saturday at 7. Mom wrote, followed by a string of heart emojis. At first, I wanted to ignore it. But some part of me still craved belonging, still hoped that maybe this time, the dinner would be about something good, maybe even a thank you for helping with the family fund. When I arrived, the house looked the same as always, warm lights spilling out from the windows, the scent of roasted herbs in the air, laughter echoing from the dining room. Sophie was already there, dressed in a sparkling silver dress that probably cost a month of my salary. "Alina," she squealed, kissing the air beside my cheek. Her perfume was overwhelming, expensive, and suffocating. "It's been forever. You look serious as usual." I forced a smile. "Good to see you too, Sophie." Dinner started pleasantly enough. Mom kept refilling my glass of wine. Dad complimented my job, and Sophie bragged about her plans to open a boutique. I didn't mind her talk. I'd heard it all before. But then Dad cleared his throat and tapped his glass with a spoon. The room quieted. "We have a special announcement tonight," he said proudly. Mom reached beside her chair and pulled out a white envelope. She looked at Sophie with misty eyes. "Sophie, sweetheart, your father and I have talked about your future. We know life hasn't always been easy for you. You've had struggles, and we want to give you the fresh start you deserve." She handed Sophie the envelope. Sophie's fingers trembled as she opened it. Then she gasped, Inside was a check. $200,000. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My fork slipped from my hand and clattered onto the plate. That's my money, I said quietly. Mom smiled softly, as if speaking to a child who didn't understand. Oh, honey, it's family money now, and your sister really needs this chance. You're doing so well, you'll make it back in no time. My pulse pounded in my ears. You told me it was temporary. You said it was for the family, and not just for her, Dad chuckled. Elena, you're strong, responsible, independent. Sophie's been struggling to find herself. You'll understand when you have your own children. Sophie looked up, a nervous smile tugging at her lips. Elena, please don't be mad. Mom and Dad just want to help me. Something inside me cracked, not just anger, but a deep bone, deep ache. All my years of effort, all the late nights, every ounce of pride I had saved, was reduced to a gift for my sister. I pushed my chair back. You didn't help her. You just proved what I always knew. She'll always be your favorite. No one spoke. The candles flickered, casting long shadows across the table. I picked up my coat, ignoring Mom's trembling voice calling after me. Outside, the night air was cold and sharp against my skin. I walked to my car with shaking hands, 1,000 emotions twisting inside me, grief, fury, betrayal. When I drove away from that house, I didn't look back. I told myself I was leaving my family behind. But I wasn't, not yet, because some betrayals don't end at goodbye. Some demand retribution. And that night, as tears blurred the road ahead, I silently promised myself they would regret underestimating me. For the first few months after that dinner, my world was a quiet ruin. I moved into a tiny one-bedroom apartment on the edge of the city, cracked walls, flickering lights, a bed that creaked every time I shifted. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Some nights, I would lie awake replaying their words in my head. Your sister deserves everything. Every time I heard it, the ache in my chest hardened into something sharper, purpose. I started freelancing again, using the few contacts I had left. I worked late into the night, coding, designing, and creating digital mock-ups for clients who barely remembered my name. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid enough to keep me afloat. Slowly, painfully, I rebuilt. The pain became my drive. Every insult, every memory of being overlooked, fueled my ambition. I taught myself marketing, business strategy, and management through online courses and endless reading. It felt like trying to climb a mountain barefoot, but for the first time, I wasn't doing it for their approval. I was doing it for me. 6 months later, I launched my dream, Elara Designs. The name came from my own, Elena, and the Greek moon goddess Elara. A reminder that even in darkness, there's light if you make it yourself. At first, Elara Designs was just a one-woman operation. I'd meet clients in cafes, pitching my ideas with trembling hands and hopeful eyes. Some turned me down, others gave me small projects that barely paid, but every no pushed me harder. I didn't have $200, €0 anymore, but I had something stronger, hunger. Then came my break. A mid-sized tech firm hired me to redesign their branding. I poured my heart into it, sleeping maybe 3 hours a night. When the project launched, it went viral online. My inbox exploded with offers. Within a year, Elara Designs was thriving. I hired a team, small but loyal, and moved into a sleek downtown office. Investors started calling, but I was cautious. I'd learned what trust could cost. While my business soared, Sophie's boutique, funded by my stolen money, fell apart. I saw it on social media, the closing sale, the angry customer comments, the whispers about unpaid debts. Part of me wanted to feel pity. I didn't. One afternoon, I ran into Mom at a grocery store. She looked thinner, older, her smile unsure. Elena, she said softly, we miss you. Sophie's had a rough time lately. Maybe you could call her. I looked at her, the woman who had handed my dreams away like a spare gift, and managed a polite smile. I'm really busy, Mom. Maybe another time. That night, I sat by my apartment window, city lights reflecting in the glass. I realized something. I no longer needed their validation. I'd built a life from nothing. They had betrayed me, but that betrayal had carved me into someone stronger, sharper. Still, a part of me wasn't satisfied. because justice hadn't been served yet. They hadn't learned what it felt like to lose everything. But they would, and when that time came, I'd be the one handing out the check, not with love, but with consequence. 3 years passed. Time had a strange way of healing wounds while sharpening memories. I no longer cried when I thought of that night. I smiled instead. Because by then, I had turned my pain into power. Allura Designs had evolved into a full-fledged creative agency. We had clients in multiple countries, a team of 50, and an office that overlooked the skyline I used to admire from my tiny apartment. I had everything I'd dreamed of success, independence, peace. But peace is never complete when justice is unfinished. One morning, my CFO came into my office holding a folder. "You might want to see this," she said. Inside was a proposal, a struggling family business seeking a buyer. The name on the document stopped me cold. The Hartman Group, my parents' company. I learned that after Sophie's boutique failed, they'd poured all their savings into saving her next venture and lost everything. Their debts had grown. Their home had been mortgaged. They were desperate for a bailout. I didn't hesitate. Using one of my shell companies, I purchased their debts quietly. Within weeks, every financial thread that held their world together ran through my hands. Then I made the call. "Mom," I said, keeping my voice light, "we haven't had dinner together in a long time. How about this Saturday, my treat?" Her relief was palpable. "Oh, sweetheart, that would be wonderful. Your father and Sophie will be so happy to see you." Saturday came. The restaurant was elegant, quiet, the same one where they'd once humiliated me. I arrived early and sat at the same table. When they walked in, I almost didn't recognize them. Dad looked older, smaller. Mom's face was lined with exhaustion. Sophie's confidence had evaporated. She avoided my eyes. "Alina, it's so good to see you," Mom said softly. I smiled. "It's been a while." After some awkward small talk, I pulled out a stack of papers and placed them on the table. "Before we eat, I need you to look over these." Dad adjusted his glasses. "What's this?" "Ownership documents," I said evenly. "You'll be signing over the assets of the Hartman Group to my company. The debts, the properties, the remaining shares, everything." Mom's eyes widened. "What are you talking about?" I leaned forward, calm and deliberate. "The company that bought your debt is mine. I own Allura Holdings, and now I own you." For a moment, silence filled the air, thick and suffocating. Sophie's voice cracked as she whispered, You did this." I looked at her, the sister who once smiled as my money was handed to her like a gift. "You once said you deserved everything, remember? Consider this my repayment. You get everything you asked for, including the debt." Dad's face turned pale. "Alina, this isn't you, and no," I said softly. "This is me, the version you created." I stood, leaving the papers on the table. "I hope you sign them quickly. My lawyers are waiting." As I walked toward the exit, I felt the weight of years lifting from my shoulders. Their voices faded behind me, confusion, regret, disbelief, but I didn't turn back. Outside, the night air was crisp, almost electric. For the first time, I felt free. Not because I destroyed them, but because I'd finally let go of needing their love. They had taken my $200,000 and given it to Sophie in the name of deserving. Now, I had taken everything back and left them with exactly what they deserved.